Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Chiron transiting the second house in a natal chart. Now, on average, Chiron will traverse a house for approximately 4 years. However, if your house size is a little bit larger than average, then Chiron will be in there for a little bit of a longer duration. If your house size is a little bit smaller than average, then Chiron will be in there for a little bit of a shorter period. Well, anyway, people, first thing I look at when Chiron transits one's natal second house is that, well, it could indicate some kind of suffering connected with finances, monetary matters in general. It could be possessions that have dissipated for whatever reasons. It could be just somebody that is going through a period where they're having just a general dissatisfaction of where they are, perhaps monetarily, what they have in terms of their resources, their values, their possessions, what they actually have, their tangible assets. And I think the part of the problem is a lot of this, I think when people have this transit, it's like in the natal chart, someone has Chiron in the second house. I think a lot of times people that have this will correlate their lack of self-worth, perhaps their lack of self-esteem, with the fact that they have maybe their possessions are diminished or they don't have as much money as they like, where the connection really shouldn't be there, or the correlation really shouldn't be there. But the thing about this is, on the positive end, on Chiron transiting the second, as you know, most of you know that Chiron is the wounded healer. It could show the area or sector in life in our charts by house where it's transiting, where we might have experienced some kind of wound, some kind of despondency and suffering, but it could also show the area where we can strongly help others. Now, when someone has Chiron transiting the second house, well, they may be able to help augment someone else's incomes, help others find value in themselves, increase somebody else's self-esteem, make them feel better about themselves, instill the power of positive thinking in others, and help others from a monetary standpoint. But on the other hand, the person that has this transit may not be able to help themselves. And what's interesting about this transit too, I think in some cases, the fact that one person may be helping somebody monetarily, and then their money situation might be depleted. They may be inextricably interwound. I mean, for example, maybe this could be somebody that might give somebody some money or exorbitant amounts of money to people, and then they wind up being in a situation where they're in not necessarily a big financial hole necessarily, but they might have a lot less funds than they would like. And it could be, especially say you have Chiron in a generous sign, like in magnanimous Leo, this could be an example of perhaps having some kind of financial wounds or suffering connected with extravagance or being overly magnanimous to somebody as far as your money goes and perhaps your resources. So those are some things to look at as far as this transit goes. Now, many of you may know Chiron is currently in Pisces at the time I'm making this video. And this could be a period, if you're having this transit now with Chiron in Pisces, and it's transiting your second house, well, these wounds connected with the second house finances could be due perhaps to some kind of deception, say to some con man, for example, some kind of perhaps delusion, or maybe thinking that, well, this investment, perhaps, for example, this is going to be the end to all means of my making money. And I think you could have something where perhaps, like, if transiting Chiron is making a square, say to your natal Mercury, this could be, you might have some kind of financial loss, perhaps due to some kind of con men, or perhaps actually literally maybe being robbed, or being such as possessions may be taken from you, because Mercury is associated with thieves. So those are some things to look at as far as this transit goes. And really, this could be a transit with Chiron transiting the second. It's really about lesson learning that maybe money may not be the all to end means for happiness. I know there's some expression that goes something like, I never saw anybody with a Ferrari that's sad or frowning or something, or without a smile. But this could be a time also where maybe when you learn to help others monetarily, you could also help yourself in doing so, and just replicate what you do for others to yourself as far as monetarily goes, as far as giving yourself the advice that maybe you gave others, and maybe you could help yourself in the process. Now, it's also important to look at the aspects that are made to your natal planets and points by this transit, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say, for example, that transiting Chiron is making a square, in conjunct, or opposition to your natal Mercury. Well, there might be some wounds and suffering, perhaps, or maybe the way the wounds and suffering you're going through may be in some conflict with perhaps some communications and short journeys. It may be the fact that being in the second house, these wounds and suffering may be connected with a monetary situation. You might not have that money to do the things that you want in connection with the communications you want, or perhaps maybe taking those short journeys, for example. So those are that is one example. Now, let's say another example. Let's say that transiting Chiron is making a conjunction to your natal Venus. Well, this could indicate you may experience some emotional wounds and suffering connected with love and or relationship. Now, being in the second, it might be tied in to perhaps your self-esteem and perhaps your self-worth and how you feel about yourself because of this. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Chiron transiting the second house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about Chiron transiting the third house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.